The Road to El Dorado is one of the best hidden gems in the animation world. Seriously, no one talks about this movie, even though it was gorgeously detailed and filled with a ton of fun banter. If you haven't seen this movie, I can't recommend it highly enough. We have Miguel and Tulio, the Spanish conmen living in 1519, who accidentally end up on Cortez's ship. And no, not AOC from the US representatives, but the infamous conquistador from your history books. And Cortez is furious to find Miguel and Tulio stored away on a ship, so he plans to sell them as slaves to the Cuban sugar plantations. But the guys get away with the horse Altivo and end up on an island that just so happens to have the same landmarks that are on a map that Miguel has. To the surprise of none, the guys end up in El Dorado, the legendary city of gold. And because of a conveniently placed stone tablet that was oddly specific and very accurate, Tulio and Miguel get mistaken for gods. A good adventure ensues from there. But even though this movie is fantastic, there are some oddities that never really get explained. I sincerely believe that these plot holes stack up to prove that the rascally Chel was actually the god or goddess that the locals had been looking for. So let's talk about it. Hi guys, I'm Megan, and welcome to the Fangirl, where I still adore The Road to El Dorado after 21 years. Seriously, I love this movie so much when it came out that there was a long stretch of time where I was going to name my firstborn Chel. But then I had a boy, so that was ruined. And my daughter, whose name is actually Kyrie because, come on, fandoms change over the years. She caught this movie in our Voodoo account a few weeks ago and was like, "Oh my gosh, The Road to El Dorado, we have to watch this, this is the best movie!" And I kind of realized, wow, maybe it's not just me that still loves this movie, I should talk about it. Anyways, you want to hear about how Chel could possibly be a god, right? So let's dive on into the evidence. First, let's look at Chel as a character. She's a thief and a con man who, despite being raised in the same place as all the other naive natives, is very savvy and aware that Miguel and Tulio are also con men who are just posing as gods. True enough, Chel did hear the two men talking to each other, so she could have put the pieces together, but don't forget that Chel's culture is very afraid to question the gods, so her brashness doesn't really make a lot of sense. And even if Chel believed that Miguel and Tulio were frauds right from the start, I mean, come on! All the people in El Dorado are taught about the stone tablet and what it means, and she was squatting right there in front of them, fulfilling that prophecy. She should be freaking out like a West Virginian who just heard about a Mothman sighting. Love you, Mothy. You know what's also strange about Chel? She lives in this tight-knit community that has more or less been sealed off from the rest of the world for generations, yet she has no friends or family in the place. Certainly her parents could have died. It's not like they have fantastic medical care there, and it looks like they sacrifice people fairly regularly, but she doesn't have grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, cousins, a boyfriend, a BFF, nobody? For whatever reason, Chel is a world-wise outsider in her very small tribal setting, and nothing really adds up about that. I mean, watch the movie again. These are very friendly, peaceful people, and other than Zekel Khan threatening to kill her, there isn't one person who interacts with Chel or even acts like they know who she is. What's up with that? Not enough proof that Chel might be a goddess? Okay, fine. How about this? In the opening sequence of the movie, we have Elton John singing about El Dorado and how it was formed 1,000 years ago. And that is an oddly specific number because they could have said 10,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, 100 years ago, anything. But they don't. They say, and I'm going to quote the song here, "Our glorious city was built by the divinities, by gods, who saw fit to bestow the gift of a paradise, peaceful and harmonious, upon us mere mortals below, and made El Dorado the magnificent and golden 1,000 years ago." So that date is set for some reason. It's also important to note that even though Elton John only sings and he does the songs for the bulk of the soundtrack, he gets credited as being the narrator, even though this movie has no formal narration. Why does that matter? Because it means that that opening song called El Dorado is being used in place of typical narration. So everything in that song should be considered a fact to set up this movie verse. Okay, so why is 1,000 years significant? Oh, well, because when Miguel and Tulio tell the chief that they want to leave the city with their bounty of gold, the chief gets taken back a bit because Miguel and Tulio, these perceived gods, were expected to be staying in the city for the next 1,000 years.
Oh, we expected you to be staying with us for the next 1,000 years.
So the city is 1,000 years old, and they are expecting gods to come and stay with them for 1,000 years after that. The chief doesn't say anything more than that, but it sounds to me like it's kind of a changing of the guard situation. So one guard has been on duty for 1,000 years, and now in comes another set of gods to relieve the first god. And true, the movie doesn't state anything like that directly, so this is kind of a shaky theory, but it does fit perfectly in the story gaps, especially when you consider the chief of El Dorado. Zekel Khan wants Chel either dead or in service to the gods, and he sent his team of guards to track Chel down for robbing the temple, but the chief doesn't ever mess with Chel. He doesn't even have one thing to say about what she's done. Plus, think about it, you're in a city full of gold, so gold really doesn't mean anything. It would be the equivalent of being a blacksmith and then stealing a cast iron skillet from another blacksmith. There's no value in it for you. And yeah, you might think, well, it's gold, so if she has something gold, she can take it to the outsiders and sell it. But Chel, as a member of that tribe, really should not have any concept of what outsiders find valuable. So really, why would Chel steal the face of some golden offering statue in the god's temple when she should have plenty of her own possessions that are made of gold too, because that's a readily available material? It's tin to these people. It means nothing. It has no monetary value. Well, I think that faceplate had to be significant for some reason, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. First though, when Chel is being chased by Zekel Khan's militia, she gets caught in front of the stone tablet showing a woman making an offering to two male gods riding a serpent beast. And when drugged back to the city, Chel defends her actions by saying she knew the gods were coming and so she brought them an offering. Which is also weird because the figure that she stole that face from is literally holding an offering serving plate in its hands. And everything that Chel says here after she's caught is perceived to be a con because she's just too slick to have them pin the charges on her. Yet when Chel wants to join Miguel and Tulio in their scam, she says it's because she wants out of the city. For some reason, Chel needs to escape, and she doesn't go any deeper than saying, I have my own reasons for wanting out of paradise.
You've got your reasons, and I've got mine. Let's not make it personal, okay?
And that is so strange and vague because, again, El Dorado is this beautiful, peaceful place that everybody else loves, but Chel needs to get out of there as fast as possible, even though she should have no knowledge of the outside world and has nowhere to go. So all of this seems to line up pretty well with the idea that Chel is a goddess and her 1,000-year term on Earth is almost up. Let's also talk about those predictive carvings. Both Miguel and Tulio being served an offering by Chel and the arrival of Cortez were literally written in stone. And that is too insanely accurate to get right by chance. I'll grant you that maybe one of those carvings would come true just due to statistical luck, but two? Inconceivable. But there is a flaw here because predictive images are just that. Images. There seems to be no hard text around any of these images, which means any interpretations, especially by Zekel Khan, could be manipulated or just plain wrong. Xibalba, for example, wasn't a portal to the spirit world, it was just a water vortex that spit you out a few miles outside of the city. So the image that correlated to Cortez could have been a warning about this man, and it was misinterpreted as the gods wanting blood or violent sacrifices, which Which would mean, who's to say that the first stone tablet didn't depict Chel passing the torch over to the new guardians of El Dorado? So they're riding a serpent monster, who cares? That doesn't mean that they're automatically gods, they could be protectors, which is exactly what Tulio and Miguel end up being. And the weirdest thing about this movie is that the spirit world, or at least these magical entities, are real. And we know that's true because Zekulkan uses them multiple times. Yet the gateway to get into the spirit world is fake. Now pair that with the end of the movie where the entranceway to El Dorado is sealed off with giant stones, and Chel, Tulio, and Miguel are just off on a new adventure, not knowing where they'll go or what they'll find next. And I think it's plausible that Chel, who had this intense desire to escape for no given reason, is gonna be on her way to find the real spirit world entry portal so that she can go home. Now, as a final plea to sell you on this theory, think about this. When Miguel and Tulio are presented as gods in the city, they're told to demonstrate their power. And while the guys are arguing with each other, a volcano starts going off. Then, quite abruptly, Tulio just yells, "Stop!" And the volcano stops and sucks itself back in. I mean, I'm not a volcanologist here, but I don't think that's normal to have a volcano just suddenly stop erupting and suck back in smoke and lava and everything else. And the natives seem quite impressed by that action, so it's obviously not something that happens regularly. So knowing, like we do, that Miguel and Tulio are not really gods, who could have possibly done something like that on their behalf? Oh, well, maybe the actual god Chel. She would have been close enough to hear Zekulkan's demands, while also being far enough away from the crowd to not be noticed working her godly magic on the volcano. I mean, Chel is a huge character in this movie, but she is not at all present in the volcano scene. She's not brought on screen, we don't see any reaction from her, and she is totally jaded by everything going on, while every other local is severely impressed. So while it can be subtle and very easy to miss, I think that the stars align to point to Chel as the god. And I believe that the chief knew this, and that's why he caught on quickly that Miguel and Tulio weren't gods.
Hey, to err is human.
And why he didn't seem to care that Chel was a thief with no local connections, because he recognized her as a true goddess, so he just left her to her own devices. But what do you think? Does this theory fill in the gaps? Or were the Eldoradans just waiting for a coming that was sadly never going to happen? It might not be reality, but theories are more fun. Real quick for derps, I have a thermometer going on that my camera's getting too hot, but I want to make sure I do a fan mail shout out and thank Shane A from Cambridge, MA. I think that's Massachusetts, right? I'm a little derpy in the derps, who sent me this really cute postcard, and I want to thank you so much. And hopefully you've gotten the mail I've sent back to you already, Shane, but I wanted to make sure that you got your shout out because I know it's been a hot minute since I've recorded a new video, but I gotta go because the camera is overheating. I'm gonna do a song later and try to edit it into the end here, so stay tuned if you want to see that.
Local feelings should not be rebuffed.
Never rebuff a local feeling, no, my friend. It's tough to be a god, but if you get the people's nod, count your blessings, keep them sweet, that's our advice. It's great advice. Be a symbol of perfection, be a legend, be a cult. Take the praise, take their collection, as the multitudes exult.
Don a supernatural habit.
We'd be crazy not to grab it. So sign up to New Gods for Paradise. Paradise. And they made El Dorado the magnificent and the glorious 1,000 years ago. Someday out of the blue, Maybe years from now or tomorrow night, I turn and I see you as if our love were new. Someday we can start again, someday soon. Someday soon. Are you trolling me? But then I had a boy, so that was ruined. Inconceivable. 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 And for whatever reason, Chel is a very worldwide outsider. Chel is a very worldwide. She should be freaking out like a West Virginian who just heard about a local Mothman sighting. Love you, Mothy. 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 What is that? What's happening? What is happening? Okay, we'll turn it off. Oh, the camera is overheating because I'm talking too much. That's lovely. Let's give you a second then, Betty. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey Megan, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.